Hello all, Rick here, with a video on some of the most potent firepower that the Federation has. Now originally I was gonna lop the Tricobalt torpedoes into the same video as my transphasic torpedoes and cover both in one topic. However, after looking into them both, I found surprising amounts of background lore added that made them similar but distinct weapons in Starfleet's arsenal. Plus we have several other instances of Tricobalt devices used in canon outside of the Federation to look at too. So, Tricobalt, according to Star Trek, is a stable element with the atomic number 129, discovered in 2192. It was immediately picked up by the UFP because, when it released energy, it produced substantial subspace distortions. The exact nature and relation of this is still unexplored, but it sounds like their detonations create notably large ripples in subspace, with the potential to even use it to form artificial openings. Corridors, warp effects, and even interdimensional travel have all been linked to this exceptional element. Over time, Starfleet has not only used it in experiments, but also as a weapon, as have many other species and powers. These devices are not deployed on most Starfleet ships, and are highly restricted when they are. Voyager carried 2 of these devices for its mission into the Badlands, and that's the only time we see them being used on screen. They were launched at the Caretaker array to utterly destroy it, pulverizing the sophisticated technology into particles, in order to ensure nothing salvageable remained for the Kazon. Their effectiveness in combat, however, is severely limited, as most deflector technology could weather their detonation easily enough, meaning that for most usage, they were pretty much no better or even inferior to photon torpedoes when every other vessel out there has energy screens. Starfleet, when deploying them, does so as part of specialised ordnance, missions like demolition or orbital bombardment. Something that levels structures, and outside of wartime, there's little need for this. This makes their addition to Voyager's loadout questionable, as it could be that they were expected to not only rescue Tuvok and establish what happened to the Marquis ship, but perhaps then locate and destroy the Marquis base? Either way, it never came to pass, and it was something Janeway never elaborated on. Additionally, the Tholians of the Mirror Universe were able to cause an opening into the Prime Reality by detonating a Tricobalt device of their own in a gravity well. This confirms that Tricobalt-based things definitely are used in the bending of spacetime to extremes, even opening interdimensional rifts. So it could be that Voyager was carrying them for less nefarious reasons, as it was a science vessel first and foremost, and possibly expected to undertake some experiment with them in the future. As an addendum, this would be fitting for the Lamar-class Voyager A, which also was assigned a couple, and its mission profile was very much more in keeping with mapping wormholes, interdimensional and temporal rifts, and so on. Because of their slow rate of detonation combined with their ineffectiveness against shielding, they were often deployed as mines. The Romulans have done this, placing Tricobalt-laced cloaked mines around their territory in 2152, and cloaked missiles were very much a concern, as these stealth tactics circumnavigated their biggest weakness. The interest started when I saw that the torpedoes Voyager used were measured in the yield of 20,000 teracochrons. Teracochrons is a fictional unit of measurement for subspace distortions, with warp fields and events like wormholes leaving measurable effects. Now, trying to layer subspace effects on a graph or something shows like a shuttlecraft's warp field to geostatic folds that caused rifts in spacetime being measured in millicochrons, while warp fields are generally falling into single-digit cochrons. Manuals cite 1 Cochrane as being the measurable distortion of a stable warp 1 bubble, while 500 Cochrans was the upper limit of stress that certain starship systems could withstand. Now, that anti-time rupture that ended all good things was a massive 4,077 Cochranes, and that thing was spanning all of space-time going back 3.5 billion years. Voyager's torpedoes are 20 quadrillion each, so, like, that's universe-bendingly powerful. I suppose, unlike those previous phenomena, these are more of a sudden blast, akin to throwing a stone into a lake as opposed to a persistent continual distortion, and that may explain the difference. Or it's just not as simple as bigger number is more. But still, that seems exceedingly powerful. It also raises another major problem. How is this not considered a subspace weapon? Sure, subspace weapons are banned among the Federation and most other powers by mutual agreement because weaponizing subspace is a dangerous thing that can go on to ruin the very fabric of everything your culture is built on. Faster than light technology. Damage to subspace is regarded as very serious by every power out there. Now, for the benefit of the doubt, the Tricobalt devices are only capable of causing a subspace tear or rift, and they did not do so when used that one time. So it's likely that, much like the transphasic torpedoes, the subspace itself is not weaponized in any such rift would be considered an accidental effect if they do not count as subspace weaponry. Nevertheless, Apocrypha does go on to state that they are highly limited by treaty with the Klingon Empire, so clearly their disruptive and destructive effects are of some concern. Overall, it seems that Tricobalt explosions are reserved for unshielded targets to completely demolish something, as regular deflectors, while impacted, weather most of the impact, making their specialist effects redundant. Other than this, they have scientific applications, as a bit of a brute force method of forcing a subspace event, although it looks like this is something the UFP has not really focused on because they'd rather use a scalpel than a hammer when it comes to manipulating such things. What do you think? Why do you reckon Voyager was carrying such devices? Secret military mission or science experiment? Until the next video, I've been Rick. Thanks again, and goodbye.